Hiya, welcome back to the channel. So a while ago we changed the breather on a 335D, and today I'm doing the same job but on a 330D on an E46. Slightly different arrangement, slightly different job, but hopefully same effect. Now this on cold start, it smokes a bit, right? It does smoke a bit, and it's not all because of this. The heater plugs, as you'll see from this clip, so as you can clearly see, it's smoking, and it's misfiring a little bit. But it doesn't always misfire, but it does always smoke. Even on a warm day in summer when I start it up, when it's not been started for a while, it smokes but doesn't misfire. In the cold, there's some problems with the heater plugs, which it always starts well, now the battery isn't going flat. It always starts, it just smokes a little bit. So I'm going to try changing this and seeing if it stops a majority of the smoking. So to get to said article, there's another piece of that, by the way, there's a bit that goes in there as well. Nice high quality eBay job. So I'm going to take that screw, that screw, that screw, that screw, and that screw, all 5mm Allen keys. I'll take them out in a safe place, and then this is removable. And if you look, we can see that the part I want to change is under here, which means that I'm going to have to take this bit off, take this off. This is where you get to the pollen filter, by the way, as you'll see in a minute. I'm going to take that off and carefully pull this in that sort of direction. Pollen filter comes out, and then we've got some Torx bits to remove. 4 of them, so I'm going to take them out. If I remember right, this just lifts off. I do remember right, and that can be cleaned. So next, I do believe that I need to undo these and them, which I just go ahead and do. Once you take the bolts out of this, you'll realise that it's designed to just about not come out, which is just lovely. And the correct thing to do to remove this completely would actually be to take this cover off, which isn't too bad to take off, but I reckon I can struggle around without taking that off. I don't particularly want to take it off. Next, let's see if this will move. So I've undone that bolt, I've undone the bolt down there, I've undone these bolts along here. I need to take the oil cap off, and then hopefully that moves out of the way just enough to get access to the part that I'm trying to change. And I can struggle around that. It might not make a very good video, but I can struggle around it. So I need to undo them bolts. If I compare it to the new one, we've got 3 bolts there. 1, 2, 3. And then we've got 1 bolt there. I said 1 bolt, I mean that's either doesn't stay in or it's come out because it's just really cheap. This was like a 20 quid shitter off eBay. Like 18 quid I think it was actually. So let's go ahead and remove those 4 bolts. Now they're all loose. The hope is that I can pull this up and fit it. I might have to take that, I'm gonna have to undo that, aren't I? For the injector wiring harness. And I forgot to mention before, put the oil cap back on under there so no shit falls in the oil, which is obviously nice and clean. And the injector loom is held on with them, which is some sort of E something on it, but I just took them out with a 4.5mm hexagonal socket. So now that'll move out the way a little bit. Not as much as I'd hope because there's another one there. Let's take that one out. Better. Right, so now I should be able to, well, I'm hoping I've not actually done this before on this car. I should be able to whip this out through here without taking any more shit off. Just be able to carefully do this, as you can see. Yes. Yes. Right, so as we can see, that does actually appear to be a representation of the correct part. Now, that's missing from the new one, so I better put that into the new one. This goes inside the new one, and then it should just go back on where it came off. Right, so I wasn't happy with that O-ring because it wasn't a tight fit, so I've put a new O-ring on it, and now that is a lovely tight fit and nice and sealed. It has got new gaskets with it, but to be honest I trust the old gaskets more than I trust those which feel like they're made out of plastic. So I'm just going to feed it back into place where it belongs. I'll probably not be able to do that on camera, but I'll try anyway, because obviously we'll have to demonstrate this as good as possible. So anybody wanting to undertake this task at home, try not to make it a useful video, even though it's probably not. It's probably not even going to stop the smoking, but we'll find out either way. Even if it just stops it in the summer. I mean, I'm not really bothered about the smoking at all. I'm just doing this as an experiment. It stops smoking as soon as it starts running properly, you know, when it warms up and everything, after the first few seconds. And yeah, like I said, smoking when it's first started up really doesn't, actually I couldn't give a fuck. But let's put it on and see if it makes any difference. So now that it's fitted into place and all the bolts are torqued down to a specified torque setting of fuck knows what, I can put all this back together. So I'll start by removing this oil cap from underneath here and putting that back in place. And make sure it's all lined up under here, because there's like a lip it's got to sit in all the way around, which sort of lines up with that line there. So now these are back in, that's back in, those are back in, that's back in. We can put this back on, which we have give a quick wipe off because it was very filthy. So that drops into there, and it sort of slots in and lines up with the holes quite nicely actually. Now when it's lined up, like I said, that lines up pretty nicely. There's also someone actually designed it to fit there. In fact, I go so far as to say as though somebody German actually designed it to fit there. It lines up pretty well. So now we can put our pollen filter back in, and it's just a case of putting the engine cover back on, and then that is job done. And we'll see if it smokes next time we start it. Yes. And now all the bolts are back in, I can start it. But this won't really give me any sort of indication, because it's not been parked up for a while, has it, with the doofer. So what I'll do is I'll start it tomorrow. And as you can see, it still smokes. Yes! But not as much. Not as much and not for as long. It just smokes because the heater plugs don't work, which it's always done since I've had the car. It's always done that. But the smoke was getting worse to a point where it was smoking quite a lot, and then it was doing it even when it was warm. So now I suspect it probably when it's warm it might not smoke. Now obviously if it's not warm and it smokes a bit and misfires a little bit because it heater plugs. But yeah, it seems to have made it a bit better, or probably a lot better when it's warm. So anyway, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all the usual shit, and see you next time.